Hello and welcome to the finals of the Hokkaido OP12 Championships. It's going to be the new OP12 Zoro versus the OP01 Zoro. The old versus the new. The hot new stuff versus the veteran leader is going to go up head to head in this matchup for the first finals of this format. Going to be so exciting, especially seeing this Zoro deck. We know that the OP01 red Zoro rushes down opponents with the fast tempo, the swarm efforts of the Tony Choppers and the animal package. But with the green Zoro being able to board control, being able to clear out bodies with that restanding leader effect, it's going to be really interesting to see how this matchup goes. I honestly do not know which way it can go. I could see it going both ways, but it'll be curious to see how these top players pilot as the red Zoro ends up using a mulligan. So before we get into this, just want to make very clear that I am not the official live stream. I am just doing my own English commentary to try to practice becoming an official caster, maybe someday in the One Piece trading card game. But for now, if you want to listen to me, feel free to join. But if you want the official live stream, go ahead, click the link in the description below. I always have that for you in these Japan championships. And so I can pay rent for this upcoming month in July because I had to buy a lot of starter decks and OP11 product. Let's hear from a word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by OP TCG DEX, the premier One Piece trading card game app that allows you to track your collection, right? With double-digit sets and starter decks now, it's hard to keep track of what you own. Having a premier filtering system as well as cards that are available both in English and Japanese, you can not only log your collection for your decks, but also for collectors like me that like to get the Japanese exclusive promos. You can go ahead in the description and click the links for either the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store to be able to download this app for free, and you can get the pro version of this app for 30 days using my code Atrocious. Thank you so much again to OP TCG DEX for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to the championship. So looks like the green Zoro is going to be on the on curve, right, going first. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out as the green Zoro, right, does have that one-drop searcher in the Perona, so you definitely love seeing that, being able to do a little bit of searching early, find another piece of the puzzle. You've got that 2-drop blocker of Kyushiro. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I don't have a pronunciation guide, unfortunately. That's going to be a nice 2-drop blocker that can maybe protect some of your characters alongside that 3-cost Tashigi. You've got the 4-cost Treasure Cruise Zoro 2K promo, as well as a Paradise Waterfall or Paradise Totsuka. In the red Zoro's hand, looks like they have a pretty okay start. I don't think it's bad, and I think it could be better. They have a 1-drop searcher in the Dr. Kureha, which is going to be really nice to maybe find a 3-cost OP08 chopper, which is not present in the hand right now. One of the lifebloods of swarming with this red Zoro deck, but they do have a couple blocker EB01 Tony Choppers which could be beneficial in their game plan, as well as some 2Ks in the Hiking Bear and Sanji. Let's get into this finals match. Thank you so much for joining me here. And the green Zoro, going to start off with that Perona like I mentioned earlier. Going to be looking at that top 5 for a slash character or a green event. So we see the Tashigi right there, probably going to be the option for the Zoro. Like this card, it is a staple in every single Zoro deck, right? With that on play of resting a 6-cost or less and then giving 3 rested done to your Zoro leader is just so nice for being able to utilize your leader effect in clearing bodies. Now the red Zoro over on the right side, using that Dr. Kureha, looking at the top 5 for a Drum Kingdom or Chopper card, is going to grab that Alabasta Chopper. That's going to be nice to play on the next turn potentially. You can put down maybe Hiking Bear if you want to. And they're passing off the turn. Going to 3 Dawn now. I can't tell what that card is. I'm using a much smaller screen. I'm 3,000 miles away from my home setup. The screen is much smaller than I'm used to. Thank you so much for joining me. They do find that nice new 3-drop Shimotsuki Kozaburo is hopefully how you pronounce it. It's a nice 2K, but on the on play is really good maybe for this matchup with these small bodies On that on play, you rest up one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less, and then you KO a rested character on your opponent's side of an original cost of 1 or less. Could be able to get rid of this Dr. Crueja if they want to right now, especially after this 5k swing. Especially with this 5k swing, I think they're probably going towards that route right now. And with the 1k counter of the chopper is going to get out of that, stay at 5 life. Especially getting rid of some of these bodies on board. We've seen with the Zoro deck how power can just go up exponentially and be so aggressive, but decides to use 2 instead for that 2-drop blocker right there. Just going to be setting up the board a little bit. Maybe want to save that 3-drop that I was talking about earlier for something like the Sanji as they were showing on screen. The Sanji would provide a lot of problems, and especially after resting it, you'd be able to swing into it and probably knock it out. So might not be a bad idea. But since you're on the on curve, maybe you can use that with Tashigi in the next turn anyway. So maybe just saving a 2k right now. Is going to go ahead and swing 6. The Tashigi from OP10 is just going to be the counter, and the 3-cost OP04 Toning Chopper is going to play down that Hiking Bear to be able to build up the board a little bit. So now we'll see how Zoro can go ahead and do some clearing of their own. Might just on curve play that 5-cost Tashigi and rest the Hiking Bear and swing into it. The Hiking Bear is more than likely the most dangerous character on the field right now, so you can go in and use your leader effect with Zoro on that and still swing at lead. The Tashigi coming down, as I mentioned, is going to instead rest the Alabasta Toning Chopper and go ahead and swing 8,000 power into it. Passes off the turn, or I'm sorry, it not passes off the turn, is going to restand leader because of the leader effect. And then after taking the life is going to pass off the turn, maybe opting for the Tony Chopper swing instead, because there's no more animals on field, right? The Hiking Bear can't really power up other animals on the swing right now. So as it's 1,000 power less than the Tony Chopper, maybe that's just the most valuable at this point. We do see in the hand the OP08 Chopper come down in the hand. And so now, after swinging 5 and taking that life, is just going to go ahead and play down that Searcher Chopper. Going to be able to find a 4,000 power or less animal type to be able to play out on the field. Many options in this deck. In the Alabasta Chopper, another one is more than likely going to be the option. It does come in rested onto the field. And so here we go on that on play. We'll see if they play anything from hand as well. Can go ahead and play another character, and so is not going to opt for anything there. Just says, you know what, this is a nice 4,000 power body that is a little bit easier to get out of, so I'm going to go ahead and with the rest of the 3 done, play down my EB01 Chopper, that beautiful Sao illustration, one of my favorites from that illustrator, and passes off the turn to the Zoro. The Zoro's in an interesting position. I don't know who I would consider like in the lead at this point in the early game. I would probably say maybe the OP01 Zoro, the red one on the right side, just because they've been able to get those bodies on the field, and you don't really have a way to rest that 3-cost Chopper at this point and get rid of it. They might go ahead, use that Hiyori. That Hiyori might be able to find something like the Tashigi onto the field, especially now that you're at 7 Dawn, right? That 1-cost, rest 1 to go ahead and search. Does find a Cavendish. The Cavendish is very nice to be able to reutilize Dawn, and also the 5-cost Smoker. The 5-cost Smoker is good just as well to be able to restand, and with that Banish is a good option to be able to really starve out your opponent at certain points, forcing a life to potentially go into the trash instead of the hand. So plenty of options, definitely not an easy choice. I feel like on this search, you got to think about what you value more. And debatably, especially between the 5 drops, which one you're going to play potentially this turn. It could be interesting to see the Tashigi. We saw the Gum Gum Mole Pistol come in on the Zoro in the last game. So if they go ahead and play that, right, what's going to get you sort of immediate value in a sense. I think leaning right now towards that 5-cost smoker. So with the 5-cost smoker, is going to go ahead and swing with lead, probably just going to swing a bare 5,000 power. We could even see it at this Alabasta Tony Chopper, although it would just be a little 2k out of it, or maybe a block 2k. It's still cards out of hand at this point. So swinging that 5 at that Alabasta Chopper that's rested onto the field, probably going to give up a Sanji from the hand, right? Multiple Sanji 2ks in there is going to probably force the Tashigi swing into that Chopper, and I think that's a pretty fair trade at this point for the Zoro player. And so is going to go ahead, swing 6. Looks like it's at lead at this point. I'm sorry, swing 7. I think I accidentally said 6. Is going to go ahead and swing 7,000 power from this Tashigi at leader. Maybe thinking about whether they want to use a 2k 1k combo, right? But decides to take the life. I like the life take here. You saw that smoker come down, build up the hand a little bit, maybe find a body like this Zoro to come out on the field and rush. And with that smoker effect, right, is going to restand 1 Dawn for the Paradise Totsuka or Paradise Waterfall. Going to be a good counter card for this. Off the top of the deck, finding the Duck build Squad. Going to be another 2k to build up in the hand. You're probably going to play the Zoro, I feel like, at this point, right? There could be a situation, especially with this leader effect, and swing the Kureha at the Hiyori. There might be a situation where this Chopper could swing and lower this Tashigi to be able to get rid of it off the field. Might not be a bad play. You do have to attach 2 Dawn, so it'd be 7,000 power going at that Tashigi into the power minus. Would allow you to swing with plenty of other characters as well on this field, like all of the other Choppers, the Hiking Bear, right, to be able to potentially get rid of this and force the blocker. So we are going to see that power minus and swing right into the Tashigi. The Tony Chopper power minus is going to be so good for setting up all these other swings, right? And so it all depends on the Zoro of how much they want to get rid of in order to keep this alive. So using the Paradise Waterfall and the Zoro is going to restand that Tashigi, so going to be really nice. Now all the attacks are going to be redirected at the life for Zoro, and so now using the Hiking Bear to power up that Chopper over there on the top side from OP04. The Hiking Bear is going to be a 5,000 power swing itself, so is going to be able to contest against the leader. Just going to be a 1k Zoro. That's 4-cost Zoro coming from OP12 as well. I think this player is thinking about playing that 3-cost Zoro here on the turn, but the real question is, if you do, what do you replace on the field, especially with this Tony Chopper 6,000 power swing right now? This OP08 Chopper is going to be able to play the EB01 Chopper on the field over the Dr. Kureha, and now it's a little bit more awkward of what you actually want to replace with the Zoro. Might just spread out this Dawn and swing with leader and that Alabasta Chopper to just apply pressure. Only 2 cards in hand for this Zoro right here. No blockers active onto the field, and so uses that 2k Treasure Cruise Chromo on that 6k swing. And then with that Hiking Bear and the Dawn from leader is going to be 6,000 power right now before attaching any Dawn. And so the 2 Dawn right here is going to go ahead and swing 8. So we're going to see 2 8,000 power swings now at lead, as I was talking about earlier, just distributing the Dawn. Finds it Tashigi, so Tashigi could be nice in the next turn to help you out, kind of clear this board, right? Especially because you'll be able to swing at one of these characters with your Zoro, right? Swing with Tashigi, swing with the Smoker to be able to try to clear out some of these bodies, as well as restanding with leader and swinging at lead. The problem is, though, is the Zoro only has 2k counter in hand right now, and going into their next turn, it's not like they're going to build a ton more counter. They got to hope that these other life cards have a bit of counter on them, and a potential trigger of that 0-cost event is just going to be holding it into the hand, that 0-cost event, because this side of justice will win, or whatever it's called, I can't remember, does have a trigger on it that could be influential, but not in that situation. All the characters were rested, so that trigger of resting a 4-cost or less is not going to matter at this stage of the game. And so finding a Cavendish now on the draw is going to be a nice 1K counter at least, but I think you're probably wanting to play the Tashigi at this point, just because the Tashigi will allow you, or maybe actually you want the Cavendish, right? Because all of the characters are rested and there's no Dawn for a shut up and come with us, you probably actually want the Cavendish to be able to get more Dawn to utilize on these swings of these characters, right? You're probably going to get the Perona in some action, in some way or form. So starts off with 7,000 swing at leader. The 7,000 swing at leader is interesting. I feel like I almost think you want to battle the board a little bit, but maybe just saying I'll put you on a clock, right? Make you do the math. And so 2K, 1K gets out of that swing on the smoker. Interesting as well that using 2 cards instead of the banish of giving away 1 life really just wants to protect the life right now. And so on this Tashigi swing does get rid of the first blocker chopper. I do like getting rid of the blocker choppers, right? Because they do provide some sort of problem for you. And so going in right now, attaching 3 to Zoro and swings 8,000 power at the swarm chopper, right? And with that KO is going to be able to restand if they want, but attaches the rest of the Dawn and swings now with the blocker chopper. So uses the activate main to swing now the Zoro at lead. Really interesting that the Cavendish or Tashigi didn't come on the field. Maybe just saying, I actually want this 1K counter on the Cavendish. I really think it's going to actually give me a chance within this game. So just attaches it all to the Perona and says, hopefully this is enough and you don't have the amount of counter in hand, which was true in terms of wanting to save it. So now attaching the Dawn 2 leader and the Hiking Bear is going to power up that chopper by 1,000 power. So now is a 6,000 power body without any Dawn. I feel like especially with that 2-drop blocker that Zoro played in the early game, you don't necessarily have the math to go for game at this point, but you definitely have the math to apply a lot of pressure. So this 5,000 power Hiking Bear swing gonna get a 1K counter on that. So gonna be interesting if he ever decides to pivot, right? If he decides to pivot and just go in with maybe the Swarm Chopper and the 3-drop Chopper blocker, just kind of take a little bit of a slow game and be able to set himself up maybe in the next turn. You wouldn't really lose any of the counter in your hand with the Super Build Duck Squad and the Alabasta chopper, but you would give up a 1K counter in the OP01 chopper. Dang, this is a close game in my opinion. I feel like the Zoro could be ahead at this point. It just depends really if he's got to get rid of the Tashigi, I think. Because if this red Zoro can get rid of the Tashigi, right, because of the 0 cost event, for example, it's going to put him in a real prime spot, right, if he plays down some active characters. Maybe he's trying to think about rushing him down with the Zoro at this point, moving the Zoro to the front of the hand. That could be nice to be able to play like Zoro and the 3-cost chopper, right, but instead just decides swing at the smoker right here, just swings 9,000 power at it, is going to go ahead and try to do like a 9-9, I feel like, or maybe like a 9-7-7, right? You've got the 3-cost Zoro in hand. Getting rid of the smoker would be super beneficial, right? Because you get rid of that banish, and the 0-cost event would be able to get out of that attack. Is thinking about maybe keeping the Tashigi in hand, says, you know what, I need this Tashigi in the next turn. I'm going to force you to swing at these characters. I've got a blocker on field, and so does use it on his 2K in hand. So uses that 0 cost on the 2K, maybe trying to feint that this other card in hand is a 2K as well, but stays on the course, does swing 7,000 power at that smoker, gets the blocker, and so now the 3-cost Zoro comes in, attaching 1 Dawn is going to be another 7,000 power, no counter in the hand, is going to have that smoker go down. But now with the Tashigi, right, you are going to be able to play down that character and be able to put it on the field, but with the smoker in hand now, you don't have any counter in hand, just another rush card or exact math. You have to get rid of these characters right now. This is do or die at this point. So you need to spread out the Dawn, maybe utilize that Perona again, swing at the Hiking Bear, and try to force them to like rush in with like a Kid Killer or another Zoro to be able to get the knockout for you. or on you, I should say. Definitely a tough spot for the Zoro. He's probably wishing that he got rid of the Tashigi instead, because you got the 5-drop smoker, right? The 5-drop smoker, although maybe the Tashigi is always better as they swing 7,000 power. Is this at lead? It is at lead. And so using 2k, 1k to go to 8,000 power at this point, you don't have any rush characters like Hody Jones in this list. Spoiler alert, I do have his exact deck list. We do have deck lists for both players at this point. So the Hody Jones, although it would be a major threat, is not something that you can do. So, this is super interesting. You need to utilize the Perona. That's another big thing about this too. If you're trying to go for game, maybe just thinking that they had a ton of bricks in hand potentially. Maybe no counter at all. And so is going to attach 3 more than likely. Or plays out the 5 first. Is going to attach 4 Dawn to the Perona. That would force the Perona to swing 6. And so swings at the Alabasta Chopper, does get that knockout right there. And then with 5, play down the Tashigi. The Tashigi is going to be nice to give 3 rested Dawn to the Zoro, and now swinging 8,000 power at that Zoro, and swinging now at lead is going to take a life. Is going to pass off the turn, leaving 1 Dawn open, already revealing earlier the Paradise Waterfall, so maybe making them think that they've got another one in hand, right? There's also the 1-cost event that is so good, the Demonic 9-sword style Asura, that could be so beneficial. Finds another Rush Zoro. The Rush Zoro could actually just win the game right here if they ignore the bodies and go in at face. That's 3 swings in total right now. An excellent top deck, not having that previously off of the life. Zoro could math it out right now and take the win in this game. Even though the Hiking Bear not going to be able to power anything up, just that body now swinging 6,000 power potentially is going to go in, kind of calling the bluff at this point. Say, okay, was that card in your hand a 2K or not? And with no counter whatsoever, the Zoro is going to have to take the life right now. And so does take that life. What is it going to be? It's a Hiyori, which is a nice 1K, but not as much counter as you wish on this one. So what is the correct math right now? You've got 7 Dawn left. 3 of them you need for the Zoro, the little 3-drop in hand. And so attaching 1, you would be able to swing 7 and 8 at this point, I believe, or 7 and 9. I'm sorry, because of the boost on the leader effect. Would be maybe the best number. You could debate that 8 and 8 is probably the best. And so is going to go ahead and do that 8 and 8 route, attach 3, is going to take that life. Is it a trigger? Is it a counter event? It is. It's a Paradise Waterfall. But now the swing right here of 9,000 power is going to go in, can only tie at this point because Paradise Waterfall can only get 2,000 power in comparison to the Demonic 9-sword style Asura, which gives 3,000 power. And OP01 Zoro is going to be your Hokkaido champion in here. An excellent match, actually super close, I feel like. Definitely probably regretting the 2K going out of the hand. Just a simple decision like that could have changed the trajectory of the game, but I do not blame him also for getting rid of that 2K in the hand, because if he got rid of the Tashigi, he wouldn't have a body to be able to potentially pace with the Zoro in trying to go for lethal. So just unfortunate that the OP01 red Zoro had so much counter in hand right from those 2Ks and stuff, but an excellent game by both players. Really enjoyed that one, especially not really knowing how that matchup was going to go heading into this game. But let's go see these deck lists. And so here's the Zoro list that we showcased earlier on this channel in one of the previous rounds. If you missed that, go check that out. Or you can check out the playlist that I have. Every single match from this tournament that was broadcasted and that we did on this channel will be in that Hokkaido Championship. Really interesting list in my opinion, right? You've got your searchers in the Hiyori and Perona. This 2-cost blocker right here, a nice chump blocker that is played pretty frequently, I feel like, in the games that I've watched, both on like Japanese YouTube creators in these championships, etc. You've got plenty of other slash cards that we've talked about in these last couple of videos. The OP10 Tashigi as well as the OP10 Smoker. The Smoker not played of as a playset, but is a great card to potentially have that you can search for, but also with that banish that we saw in that battle. The Cavendish as well, because your leader, this green Zoro, is a supernova, is a great body to play in order to reutilize Dawn, maybe get that leader effect off on a 7 Dawn turn, or maybe even a 6 Dawn turn actually, due to restanding to Dawn. One thing that I found really interesting that I saw with this deck list that I thought of right away is this deck list not utilizing the Kuina, right? The Kuina leading up to this tournament and in set reviews that I watched and talked about and heard discussions on was that people should play that Kuina in the Zoro deck, right? Being able to rest a character and also getting the 3 Dawn attached is so valuable in so many different situations. But I think in practice, and what this player was thinking, is he'd rather have some sort of body on board, right? On a 4 Dawn turn, maybe you're just instead playing this Zoro right here from OP12, or the blocker, or something of the sort instead, to be able to build up, or maybe just attaching 3 to lead and just clearing out a body or swinging at leader. And then at the later stages, after kind of your 4 Dawn turn, you're playing down your 5 bodies, right? You're playing down Smoker, Tashigi, Cavendish, maybe even the bigger body like Mihawk. So it doesn't really make sense to run Kuina in the deck list. Your events that you've got here are a good variety. We saw a playset of the Paradise Waterfall or Paradise Totsuka, which, man, the buyout for the premium collection binder version of this was gone very, very fast. You've got your mini Hody Jones in here. This deck also not running Hody Jones. Very interesting. I talked about it in the last Zoro video. For 4 Dawn, you're able to rest 2 of either your opponent's character or Dawn, or a combination of the 2, which is so strong. And a playset of the Luffy will become King of the Pirates in that 3-cost event right here. Oh, also the 0-cost event that we talked about, plus 3,000 after trashing a card. Definitely a crazy cool list. I loved watching this deck in action, and I know so many people are excited about it, but let's take a look at the winning list. Here's the winning list from this championship. It's Zoro, so not too much different, I feel like, than a lot of other Zoro lists that we've seen previously. Plugging in the typical Zoo package of the OP08 3-cost choppers to play out other bodies on the field. The blocker chopper from EB01, which is why it's so expensive if you do not know, as well as other choppers like the Alabasta OP04 3-drop chopper, the OP01 3-drop chopper, the 1-drop from the old starter deck, the very first starter deck of the game, as well as Shut Up and Come With Us, the 2K package in the Zoro builds of Hiking Bear and the Duck Build Squad. You've also got other 2K options of the Sanji, which is easily searchable because of your Nami, and also this Frankie from OP11 on your turn once per turn. If your opponent activates an event, all of your characters get plus 2,000 power. Such an interesting card right in this build. Searchable because of the Nami, like I mentioned, as Frankie is Straw Hat Crew. And a really interesting tech, even though we didn't see it in this tournament in the couple games that we saw. A really cool tech for stuff like Gum Gum Giant decks, right? Blue-purple Luffy, green-purple Luffy. So dominant within this tournament and such a high volume. And generally anything else that plays any sort of counter event, right? We saw the Zoro in OP12 Zoro play the Paradise Waterfall event or the 0-cost event, right? Anytime you get to trigger one of those events because you're doing so much poke damage with these bodies, you can boost up all of your characters, right? Plus 2,000 power, which can help out so much, especially enabling your different 1-drops like the Nami or Dr. Kureha, right? Especially because you don't have Makino in this list. You've got some aggressive tempo rush cards in the Zoro and Kid Killer. Kid Killer making its appearance after being left out of the meta once Red Purple Law got banned. And the Sanji also provides a good amount of pressure as well for a lot of different matchups. The Mo Pistol is also nice to be able to get rid of some pesky blockers on the field, maybe minus power on a character to try to battle into it. And a great build overall for the Zoro player. A great job in general. This is actually the winner's Twitter account right here if you want to go follow them. I ended up finding them on Twitter shortly after the championship. Seems to be very, very excited about their win, kind of seeing the tweets. And you can check out some of these matchups as well. Playing a ton of blue, purple Luffy, if you kind of see this translation right here. 1, 2, 3, and 4 of them overall, including a green purple Luffy right here, only losing to a green Zoro one time in the Swiss round and beating out 3 other ones along the way. Definitely a great tournament. Thank you. So I'm going to take away from that screenshot right there. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you joining me in this video and also the series. And again, if you want to go check out every single match, you can check out my playlist of this tournament in the description below. We'll have more videos soon. I've got a couple videos prepared this week, even though I'm 3,000 miles away right from my home setup. Thank you again, and we'll see you later.